The training that you do in a caloric surplus to try and grow muscle should pretty much be the same that you do in a deficit, and let me explain why. Now, there's this assumption that as soon as you start going into a diet that you should now do lower weight and higher reps to tone the muscle. The training like this, where you're doing hard sets where it's close to failure, you're using heavy weight and you're going for lower rep ranges, that should stay in your training through the majority of a deficit, if not the whole way through. Because this is the type of stuff that builds muscle mass, and it's the same stuff that's going to keep it when you're trying to diet and lose body fat. And this is not to say you shouldn't do like the pump work, like the low weight and the higher reps, but it shouldn't form the bulk of your training suddenly just because you're now moving into a deficit. The only time I personally would change training up is when body fat starts to reach certain levels where things just don't feel great. So for example, a squat might just really start to take a long time and also just not be as optimal for you because of the time it takes to get in and out and warm up and the fatigue. Swapping it for a leg press, for example, which is quicker and more efficient. That would be the only real time I would maybe make changes. I did this over an 8-week period last year. My training didn't change the whole time I did it. I was still doing the same lifts. I was still doing the same intensity. The only thing I really lost was about 2.5 kilo on my bench towards the end, which is a pretty good success considering. Do not change things up just because you're going into a diet. It probably needs to stay the same, especially if you're training well anyway in the first place.